So if you have a customer that, has like device management, these are corporate devices they're issuing, they can install this application, set it up, and understand where those radios are at any given time. And it's something that, as we talked about yesterday, could potentially even run on something like an ion radio.
Right.
So you're going to get the best of both worlds. When you're in radio range, it's going through RF, and when you get out, it goes through cellular.
That's awesome. Welcome back to another edition of Push to Talk, sponsored by Beck Tech, a barback company. I'm your host, Eric Smith. I'm here today with Kail Carruthers. I hope I said your last name right.
Carruthers.
Carruthers,
You're
yes.
close.
That was close, yeah. He is coming to us live from Canada, and one of our Canadian brothers up north here, and Kail, I've known you for a long time now. You've been our senior account executive here at Beck Tech for several years. Now you've moved on to another region, and we have Tyler now. But how are you doing, man? I appreciate you joining us. Awesome.
Yeah, man. Joining you from, it's a little rainy today, but Ottawa, Ontario, Canada,
Awesome.
The great white north.
Awesome. You got to love a podcast or, internet of things, right? That we can come together and have a discussion about the company you work for called Teldio. Yep. A lot of people don't know who you are unless you're in the radio world, right? So we wanted to give you a little spotlight today and share you guys across our platform. Tell us a little bit about yourself. You're a family guy. I know you love to golf now. Give us a little background on yourself, how long you've been doing this, and then we'll jump into your company about, what you guys do and how you do it and all the fun things that we can do with the connections and integrations.
Yeah. So my name's Kail. I've been here 8 years at Teldio. So it's kind of shocking to me when I say that. I think when I started, I didn't necessarily know how long I would be working in this space, and I've absolutely loved it. It's turned into a career for me. So a little about myself. I was born here in Ottawa. I went to school in Nova Scotia. I've lived abroad in Australia. Love to travel. I've got a wife and 2 kids at home. Got a 3.5-year-old and a 13-month-old. So
awesome.
Things are pretty busy on the home front these days.
Oh yeah, awesome. So 8 years with Teldio, and I know you've traveled to the States a lot, and you come and visit clientele. So tell us a little bit about what Teldio actually does. We found you guys through Motorola's application development partnership. You guys had some products and some alarm management type of solutions that are certified with the Motorola radio system, and that's kind of how we met. We came to be right in our partnership. Tell us a little bit more about Teldio and what you guys are doing today.
Yeah, so Teldio is a Canadian company. We're a Motorola application developer. So we got brought into the ADP program over 16 years ago now. So I've been around for half that time.
There you go.
And we make applications for radios. So, it's funny when I meet people and they're, hey, what do you do for work? I always say we make applications for radios, and they go, okay, so what are you doing? And I say, well, the same way that you have, your email on your phone, or, you can do GPS tracking on your phone. We do that for radios. And if I don't explain that and I say, oh, I work in radio, they assume that I'm, kind of doing something similar today, but I'm standing in front of a microphone on, Hot 89.9 or whatever radio station and talking to people. But it's not really like that.
Yeah. Well, why don't you take us through a few of your applications that you guys have designed for the radio system? You talked about one, the GPS. Will you name a few others, and we can get into some examples that we've worked together on, and how we can help our customers be a little bit more efficient, and track. GPS is a big one, indoor, outdoor, asset management, those types of things. Briefly explain, your gamut of products that you guys offer, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, we've kind of slimmed down our portfolio in the past couple of years. We used to have a lot of different applications, but we've started to focus on three main applications. So the first one is applications that are running on our edge gateway.
Hmm.
So that's some of the products that you're familiar with, the alarm management system. We also have a broadcast application for mass notification. We have inventory management. We have kind of all sorts of alarming dashboards and integrations with AMS. And then we have TrueFleet, which is the indoor-outdoor tracking solution. So we're integrating that with safety applications like lone worker and man down, emergency button press. And then we have a dispatch console, a very low tier dispatch console called True Dispatch, that we allow operators to dispatch to a radio network from a computer.
Awesome. Let's get into AMS a little bit. I've had the privilege to work with you on several projects here locally and across the state, and Britt has done the same thing. So AMS, you're able to take that edge gateway, correct, and basically tie any dry contact or any type of sensor into like an alarm notification system. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So we found we've been doing integrations for quite some time, and we found that customers out there in the real world, they never have the same system for everything. They have one provider that's done their lights, somebody's done their access control, somebody's done their cameras, somebody's done their fire panel, and it's all these different companies. And it's really hard to find something that can tie all these things together. And that's what the gateway does. We don't care about which type of like which manufacturer you work with. We care about how that manufacturer, how that fire panel, that door sensor, that temperature sensor outputs information, and we can take those inputs in, and then at that point we can distribute that information as we see fit or as the customer sees fit. So they might want to get, as an example, information from their fire panel and send that out to the staff on the floor on their radios. They might want to send information about a door being unlocked to their security team. So
Right.
it's different pieces of information being sent to who needs to see it.
Awesome. So I know one example we worked on together. We actually tied different colored lights into your gateway, your management system, red, blue, green, amber, or orange, and they all signified something different, right? One was active shooter, red was fire, amber was tornado, green or whatever it was, blue was like a health, life, safety issue on a manufacturing floor, right? Not only that, we tied in an existing analog paging system, right? So overhead horns and all that. And what we loved about your product is that we could take those lights, we could take that paging system, we could also take the radio system, their telephone system, right? So we have all these different disparate systems, and we could take your gateway, put it right there smack dab in the middle of all these systems, and we can pull the inputs and then direct the communications outwardly to email, SMS, whatever, to give real-time alerts, correct?
Yeah, I mean, not everybody has the same device, right? People
Right.
are at home. They leave their radio at the office. They go home with their cell phone. Maybe they're on vacation and they don't have their phone or radios, and they want to still be on top of what's happening,
Yep.
at their business. They can get all that information sent to them, on those different mediums. And it's nice as well. Like if you are in a manufacturing environment or a hospitality environment, to see, as you said, all those systems sending information to the same place. You don't have to have 10 different screens up, to understand what's going on. You just have one screen and everything is populating on that screen for you to see. So it just makes life easier.
Yeah, and safety is a big issue now. Not just outdoor cameras or door controls, but mass notifications, right? And being able to take that information and automate, uh, you know, through a gateway like yours, right? To where
Yep.
if someone hits that code, right? Maybe it's code 5,000, right? And they hit option 1, 2, or 3 on the gateway, that can automate lights, sound. You guys can play automated messages, right? That continually play that with a couple of hits of a button, boom, everything's automated. And then you guys can also send that to like a 911 dispatch center, correct?
That's right.
And it can be fully automated, correct?
Yeah, all of it's automated. It takes away the need for the dispatcher to really think, I guess, in those critical situations. When something's going on in an alarm, if it's an active shooter, that's a lot of stress on the people involved in that environment. And, we kind of take that piece away from it, that we know when that code has been activated, these are the steps that we need to take. And this is how we escalate these alarms and who we contact. We use a lot of logic. If this, then that.
Yep.
And you'd be surprised how much you can actually program and automate just with that.
Yeah, and I see the unit behind you, the AED unit,
Yeah.
and that could be one thing that you guys could put sensors on too, right? Or if someone has a sensor, we can pull that right in, and that alert can go through your gateway and send an automatic alert right out to the radios, right?
That's right. So we have this in here. It's actually one of our biggest. Oh, I guess we could go this way. It's one of our biggest deployments that we did ever. Was for the Honolulu airport. So they have over 150 of these AEDs distributed throughout the airport, and they were having problems with people stealing them and them being tampered with. And then also they wanted just to be aware when something had happened and where that was. So we put a sensor in to notify the fire team at the airport when anybody opens the cabinet. And then there's an additional sensor in here. It's a pull cord actually right here. So if you take that out, it's going to send an additional alarm. So not only do you know, hey, somebody's touching this AED and maybe tampering with it, you'd get that alarm sent out to the staff on their radios, on their cell phones. It would say gate 5, AED 2 has been tampered with, or somebody's opening it, and they'd be able to respond. And then also, if somebody takes it out and they're actually using it, there's another alarm that notifies all of the fire staff. And they've actually had this work already where it's helped them understand where an incident's being taken place and get there sooner, and they've saved lives using it. So
Wow, that's awesome.
It can really make a difference in the response team, to understand, okay, this is exactly where the incident is. We know what's going on, and we need to act.
Yeah, one of the things Motorola says, minutes matter, seconds matter, moments matter, right? That type of saying. And you guys can have a sensor on pretty much anything, and it's proactive, right? It's a big thing in our security world. We're trying to be more proactive instead of reactive, right? And by opening that AED enclosure, you're proactively sending a message out saying, hey, this is a possible issue, possible health issue, send EMS right away, send your first responders, et cetera. And without having to dial 911 or having someone take the extra 30 seconds to 60 seconds, that minute of time that is extremely crucial in saving somebody's life. That's awesome.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, and you guys can take in. So I know you guys have written code for us in the past. You have very, very smart engineers with you. Dimitri, she's great, and she works well on every project. And I know Mark is there too. And you guys are very agnostic to an open platform when it comes to radio systems, when it comes to paging or just whatever HVAC sensors, right? Or anything dry contact, right? We can take everything in. And that's what we love about you guys is that we've come to you with different applications. So we'll talk about GPS, right? Where we
Yep.
have multiple utility companies that say, hey, we already have this software, this Esri software in place. Can you guys just
Yep.
pull the XYZ coordinates out of a radio and just dump it in? That's something you
Yeah.
guys can do, correct?
Yeah, that's right. And Esri, I mean, Esri as a company is huge, right? They
Yep.
do all sorts of mapping solutions for utilities companies, for analyzing maps to understand how
Yeah.
close you are to hospitals, transportation routes, postal distribution. They do everything. So we do have that integration with our GPS software where we can output that information to one of those Esri maps, and it really adds a lot of value for them. Because they can see it on the map that actually means something to them.
Right. And in our world, we want to try to future proof our customers, right? So, if we have a customer looking at GPS, not only can we do outdoor tracking, but we can do indoor tracking, on a handful of the radios, right? So the XBR style radios, that professional tier radio of Motorola, your
Yep.
5550s, your 5000 series, your 7000 series, your R7s, the Ions, right? Um,
Yes.
so we can pull the GPS data. So not only are they buying a ruggedized communication device, right, two-way radio, they're also buying a device that can pull GPS in. Let's talk about the True Fleet management portion of that. We do a lot of outdoor tracking with those radios, which is a great feature. Let's talk a little bit about indoor tracking, and how
Yeah.
we can how you guys track assets, fork trucks, asset management, and kind of just tell our viewers a little bit about how we can do indoor tracking with your system as well.
Right. So indoor tracking, it's a little different. The outdoor tracking, you're using the GPS satellites that basically everything
Yep.
uses. Your cell phone or your car or anything. It sees a satellite in the sky. It kind of reports the longitude and latitude, and you get that information over RF. But for indoor tracking, you can't see the sky because you're indoors.
Yep.
So what do? You use Bluetooth beacons, and so we have these beacons. They're wireless, they're battery powered, and you can install them in a building to give you coverage to understand where the radios are. So you can use those, but you can also use access points. So we have a new partnership with Aruba Access Points,
Awesome.
and that's a big help as well. So anybody who has an existing Wi-Fi infrastructure, so we're talking schools, hospitals, hotels, they have really good Wi-Fi coverage in 2024. And so they don't necessarily even have to install that beacon infrastructure to track their radios. These access points can act as iBeacons, and you don't have to change the batteries on them. They have really good range, and you can determine where people are indoors based on that. And it opens up the door to a bunch of different use cases. So
Right.
understanding where somebody is great, but I think from that safety perspective of Eric has fallen down, and his last known location was the west wing of floor 12. That type of precise information is the minutes and the seconds that really matter, right? So
Right.
you're getting all that sent out to whoever needs to see it.
Well, and what's nice about that too is you guys can pre-can messages. So think about a manufacturing environment. They walk into let's call it a hot area, right? Or maybe it's an area where everything has to be UL safe and you have to have certain PPP or personal protective equipment, PPE, in place, right? So you guys can have an access point there or Bluetooth beacon, and when they walk through that door, you guys can actually trigger an alert that goes to a radio, right, and sends them a text message or some sort of audible alarm that says, "Hey, you have to have XYZ to be in here," right?
Yep. You need
And
to be
then
wearing. Yep.
Yep. And then the next thing that I like about it as well too is that not only do you get that alert, but maybe their boss gets that alert, their manager gets that alert saying, "Hey,
Right.
Eric just walked into the paint shop or whatever it may be, right? Or we call it confined spaces here. We have a lot of those tunnels and different things underneath grain legs and big manufacturing buildings, right? And confined spaces. So now you go from getting that alert, if when, right, then what happens, what you're saying, and then we can trigger, a man down alert or an emergency button, right? So if they trigger that, you can give precise locations to where they're at.
Yes, we can do that. And the example that you gave about someone going into a hot or a cold area, or where there's chemicals or something like that, and they have to wear that PPE, that text message can show up on the radio to remind them. But we can do even more than that. We can tie into the customer's video system. If they have a visual on camera system, as an example, a camera that is focusing on a wider area of the plant, when someone goes into that critical area, can pan and zoom and focus right in on
Wow.
that area. And they'd be able to then go back later and say, hey, Eric went into the hot area. He had his gloves on, but he didn't actually wear his mask. And you'd be able to see that because it was triggered from the radio going in there. It knows the location of the radio, and the camera goes, oh, somebody's where they're not supposed to be, or where they're supposed to be wearing, the right equipment. And so you have that from a liability perspective, and for record keeping, that you can go back and see, hey, how are we doing? Are we following the policies that we have in place?
Yeah, and it really it's a good tool for safety audits, right, internally, to see, if you are following rules and your employees are following, those safety measures. Because last thing an employer wants is someone to get hurt, and then there's a lawsuit and there's insurance involved and all this other stuff. But no, that's a great point that you brought up, because you guys have done a lot with cameras just over the last 2-3 years. You guys have worked hand in hand with Motorola on the Avigilon side of things, taking in those alarms alerts from ACC and dumping those into your gateway and sending them out through the radio system. We've also worked together over the last couple of years, getting you guys partnered up with Hanwha as well too, and creating that same scenario that we have with Avigilon, right, to where we can utilize AI on those cameras to help monitor and trigger unusual events or alerts or whatever rules we want to put in place to help keep the employees safe, or help keep them or help respond to incidences, right? A proactive approach. Yeah. Will you expand upon, those partnerships in the camera side and what you guys are doing with AI and how you guys are taking that in? AI is a big buzzword. Everybody's doing AI. I want to know how you guys are doing it too.
I'm glad you brought it up. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's a little scary what AI can do these days, but it is really neat, and it's enabling a lot of really cool use cases. As you said, on the camera side, it's great because a lot of the camera manufacturers, whether that's Avigilon, or Milestone or Hanwha or any of these other companies that are out there, Axis, there's lots of them. They have great AI features already.
Yeah.
And it's things like, loitering alarms, license plate recognition, facial recognition. A big one for manufacturing is line crossings, right? Mm-hmm. You can't go past a certain spot in the factory. All of these things can now be tied into, the radios, people's cell phones, emails, sirens, lights, all the things we talked about earlier, right? So we're just taking that rule that's already been created in ACC as an example, and we're sending that to the gateway, and we're going, okay, in this scenario, what do we do? Who do we notify? How do we go about this? And it becomes an automated thing where somebody who's sitting in a control room and they have 50 cameras that they're looking at, it's very hard to pay attention to everything.
Yep.
But those cameras and the AI behind them is doing the work for them. And it's going, oh, somebody's loitering here, text security. Oh, somebody crossed this line, take a screenshot of that. Oh, somebody that's not supposed to be here is here. We need to play a message over the speaker saying, hey, we know you're here. You're not supposed to be here. Leave. So the possibilities are really endless. It's pretty incredible what you can do with these cameras. And we're grateful that you introduced us to Hanwha and the other partners that we've been working with, and we've been able to do some really cool things.
That's awesome. And you, like I said again, you guys are agnostic, open, and willing to work with about anybody. Help write code. Pull those serial or Modbus or SCADA connections in or whatever. Anything IoT, right? Is there anything you guys can't do from a IoT perspective, and pulling in equipment or sensors or anything like that? Is there anything that you guys don't do? Because it seems like you guys do a lot. You guys can do about everything when it comes to sensors.
Well, I'm a sales guy, so in my world, we can anything is possible.
That's right.
Yeah, no, but honestly, I don't run into many scenarios where we can't help somebody, because
Right.
Technology now, it's all standard protocols, and they're all using the same things to output information. If they are unique, it's very rare. So I would say we haven't really ran into that scenario. And what I always tell people like yourself, or new partners that we're working with, is if you run into a situation where you're not sure how to make this work, all I want is for you to call me and give me the opportunity to earn that business, and let me figure it out for you, right? I want to be that partner that you can just call and say, hey, crazy idea. This is what they're asking for. Do you think you got anything for me? And I'll sit there and I'll go to the team. I'll be frank, it's not going to be me who fixes it.
Right.
But I'll go to D, and I'll go to Craig, and I'll go to the rest of our team and sit down, and they 9 times out of 10 come up with something.
Yeah.
So I would say, no, there's nothing we can't do.
Awesome. That's what I like to hear. I know Dimitri, she is amazing and can write code with the best of them, right? And she's done a lot of amazing things for us, that product development team, and really with our integrations and getting Hanwha to that point too. We're so glad that you guys had the partnership with Avigilon, that we can pull all that stuff in, send it out through a radio paging system, because it gives us another dimension, right, to our business, and that whole safety security aspect, and that solving for safer platform is now we can take your gateway, your edge gateway, put that in place, and now we can connect to other IoT systems like a Valcom paging system, or a standard paging system, or maybe there's cell phones or a mass notification, SMS text messages that you guys we can connect to, or simply 911, right? And just having that proactive response to, active shooter in the building, boom, you hit a button and it sends out an alert. And one of the things we're doing right now, up in our northern territory, up in the Dixon Rockford area, is we're actually putting panic buttons in, and we're tying them to a radio, and those that radio alarm will go to PD, right? But not only that, we talked about we have proposed your solution, bring you guys in as well. They're using you guys for GPS tracking. It's a municipality, but we're also looking at tying in. All right, if they hit this button in the library, underneath the table. So in the library, the water department, when they're shutting off water or electricity, they got to have these type of security measures in place, to protect themselves, right? And so we're bringing you guys in, saying, hey, if they hit this button, let's send a mass email out, right, to the whole government agency, the whole municipality, to go on lockdown, right? So it's amazing work of what you guys doing, and taking those alarms and sensors in. Let's switch gears real quick. Let's talk about dispatching. I know that's one of your pillars, and we've installed your dispatching system. It's great. It's a great system. We use it for utility companies who just want basic dispatch, right? They don't want all the bells and whistles, but there's a catch, right? We can also tie into like a bigger console application like AvTech. So will you explain a little bit about your I think it's called TrueFleet dispatching, and then how you guys are tying into AvTech, which is Motorola's one of their premier dispatch consoles that we see in like larger manufacturing environments that can do a few extra things on the emergency side and tying it to the radio systems. Will you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we do have an in-house product called True Dispatch, and it's a great product for somebody who has only a few channels or talk groups that they want to be able to simultaneously dispatch to.
Yep.
It's great for somebody who is new to dispatching, maybe a smaller business that needs somebody at a console to dispatch. It records all the radio traffic. It makes it really easy to dispatch to people. You can channel steer the control stations and talk to different groups, and it works really well. And it's relatively inexpensive as well. So those are all the benefits to that. But as you said, we can also do tie-ins with more high-end dispatch solutions like an AvTech. And I'll be honest, I'm the most excited about this partnership than I have been about any partnership we've done in a really long time, because it allows us to get in with customers who have, really big and complicated systems, really large networks, and they're solving big problems. We're talking airports, police and fire rescue, people who have, the need for that AvTech dispatch console, channel merging, interconnect capability. All of those things are really important. And now we've added our tracking solution into that dispatch console.
Oh, wow.
And it gives them the ability to track the radios indoors and outdoors. It gives them the ability to monitor assets like AEDs, door alarms, lights, things like that. And actually even just click on the map and select a unit to dispatch to. It sounds simple, but it's very useful for a dispatcher.
So if I'm looking at a dispatching console, so we put these in a couple large manufacturers here in Central Illinois, right? And channel merging is very important to them. The emergency, kind of that all call across, production, security lines, EMS channels. So you're saying that they could have another tab up that has almost like you guys use almost like a Google map, right? It's similar to Google Maps. You can geofence, you can hit, and you can see where the radios are. And maybe it's not a Google map of the whole site, but maybe you have layers of maps in there, right? By floor or by level or building A, B, C, whatever it is, right? So you're saying that you guys have tied in, you pulled that GPS in from the radio system to that tab, and now they can click and see, like, if someone hits the emergency button, that radio is going to flash red, right? Or it's going to be a dot on the map that flashes red, and they can they can find the closest people around them and dispatch them right away and say, hey, we have an emergency. Kail, you're the closest. Kail and Jay are the closest ones to this person. We need you to respond ASAP, right?
Yes. I can show you if you want to see it.
Sure. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. All right. Let's share my screen here. All right, so this is what it looks like. So you're familiar with the AvTech console, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know what it looks like. You've got it here. You've got, all the different channels here at the bottom. In this case, we've only got a couple. We've got, the emergency channel, engineering, security. But then it's not another tab. It's actually embedded right in the console. Thanks.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so we've got the maps here, and as you said, it could be OpenStreetMaps, it could be Google Maps. But if we zoom right in here, you can see the location of the radios on the map, and we've actually got an indoor map here of our office.
Wow,
so you can see
awesome.
right now the server area. You can toggle between the different floors, and we can also track assets. So if you look right over here, you can see that we've got a blue kind of sensor here. This is a temperature sensor. So you might have a customer that cares about the temperature in their refrigerator, and right now it's blue. But if we change the temperature or it goes up, it can change directly to red, and then when it goes back down, it'll change back to blue. So these are all things that you can do inside of the dispatch console now. You can monitor assets. They can change color on the screen. You can have this door on the right-hand side open, and you can have it close. So anything that's going on in the real environment there, can be shown here in this console for you. You could click in on a radio, and say, hey, where's D here? If I go here and center it on the map here, I can actually click in on these and initiate a call with them directly from this, and speak voice to this radio user straight from inside of the console. So some really cool stuff can be done here. With the new partnership we have with Tech.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. I wasn't expecting that today, and give our customers, our viewers, a little taste of what they can do. Right, like I said, the possibilities are endless with you guys, and the integrations are amazing. We have applications. Think of a school district that has security teams, and you need to track them, or they want to know if someone's making their rounds, right? And you can log those events and pull the breadcrumbs, just from a map like that. And think about like a larger school district that may have a couple of SROs sitting in front of a dispatch console, in real time, within a second or two, right? We could see what's going on, where they're at, and that it's just amazing. Thank you for sharing, Kail. Last thing here before we take off here for the weekend. Tell me a little bit more about what you guys are doing, R&D wise. We talked about AI a little bit.
Yeah.
What new features are you guys coming out with? I know you said something to me the other day about having a mobile app for the GPS.
Yep.
What are some new things that are coming down the pipeline with you guys?
Yeah, so there's two things that I want to talk about for new stuff at Teldio. The first is that mobile application for tracking. So I've actually got the beta version locked in on my phone right now. So I got this yesterday. It's fresh. But what it's going to allow you to do is track cellular units in TrueFleet. So that would be able to be visible inside of that App Tech console or just in the TrueFleet page itself. And you can actually trigger emergencies from that. And it's something that runs in the background on your phone. So if you have a customer that, has like device management, these are corporate devices they're issuing, they can install this application, set it up, and understand where those radios are at any given time. And it's something that, as we talked about yesterday, could potentially even run on something like an ion radio.
Right.
So you're going to get the best of both worlds. When you're in radio range, it's going through RF, and when you get out, it goes through cellular.
That's awesome. What anything else going on? Can we track through LTE or anything new with AI?
So the AI piece is something I'm very excited about. We've done some integrations with large language learning modules, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
So you've probably played around with them online, but you can ask them anything, and they come up with really great answers by searching through a database of information.
Right.
And what we've done is we've allowed you to actually, you pick up a radio, hit that PTT button, and say a trigger. So say, hello, Teldio, the same way you trigger Google or Alexa or something like that, and ask it a question. And it can then pull information from that model. So if I'm a new employee, I'm a new employee and I'm out on my own and I don't know how to do something, I could say, hey, Teldio, how do I change the oil on this truck? And it could give you a step-by-step guide via text to your radio, or play an audio alert clip of how to change your oil. And so it could give these people information on how to react to a situation, that the company is already kind of set up for them.
Wow. Is it beta testing right now? What type of applications have you used this on yet? Or have you used it?
Yeah, we've done a lot of beta testing in the office with mostly information pulling from databases and small command triggers. So saying things like, hey, Teldio, turn the lights off. And that's worked really, really well for basic things. There's some hiccups. Through the testing, it started to recognize one of our SE's accents a lot more so than ours. So we have an SE who's Scottish. and it was picking up his accent and doing the commands whenever he told it to do something. But when we did with an American accent, it wouldn't work. So, it's little things like that where, we got to work on that. We're getting there, but I think the possibilities, are there, and we're pretty excited about what's going to come from that.
That's awesome. You got to talk into Chat GPT and see if they can write code for you for that.
Yeah. Hey, maybe they'll do the work for us. You never know. I'll ask them, Teldio, how do you finish this for us?
Yeah. What do you see this application going into? What environments? You think it's going to be more manufacturing? You think it's going to be healthcare, schools? Where do you guys see this going?
Well, I think there's a lot of possibilities for it. It is really, really flexible, but I could see it from a monitoring perspective, like being able to ingest information that's happening on the radio. So anything that's being recorded, if somebody says a trigger word like active shooter or something like that, that it starts to move the needle on what steps the gateway is going to take automatically, without that person necessarily needing to do something. So I could see it helping teams react to scenarios faster based on what's happening with the audio. Now, there's a lot of checks and balances that'll have to be done on that side, but that's kind of how I see it interacting. That and frankly, the same way that you use Google Home, I hope that you'll be able to use Teldio in the future. You'll be able to say, "Hey, Teldio, how do I do this?" And it gives you an answer. And I think that's so cool.
Well, hopefully we make Hey Teldio a household name here in the future, right? So, Kail, I appreciate your time. I hope you have a great weekend. I appreciate you being on here. Any last parting words before we cut ties with you today?
No, thanks for having me on. I appreciate the spotlight. And once you get healed up with the leg, let's hit the links, man. It's been too long.
I know. Are you breaking 80 this year?
Oh man, I'll be lucky to break 90. But
there you go.
I'm out there for fun, So.
Hey, small steps, right, for both of us. So, Eric Smith with Push to Talk, sponsored by Beck Tech. Like, share, repost. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn. I think we're on Instagram. We're also on YouTube. Like and subscribe. We're out with another episode. Thanks, Kail. Have a good one, man.
See ya.